Hi everyone, LTD here with another video on how you can cook too. Today, Malaysians' favourite Nasi Lemak that happens to be healthy but goddamn delicious. To start, we are going to make the sambal. So I have about a half cup here which I'm going to tightly pack with dried chilies. Now dried chilies have a different flavour profile compared to fresh chilies. They are more intense because of the drying process, but they have a much more robust flavours. Now you can choose whatever dried chilies you want. Just remember, the bigger they are, the less spicy they are, and the more sweeter they are. Okay, you can use any combination you want. Just make sure you soak them in hot water for about 15 to 20 minutes before you do anything else. Now, I am going to pack about quarter cup of anchovies as well, and because of the salt content, I'm also going to rinse them. I do not want the excess sodium into my sambal. Now this thing here is called tamarind paste, and I have got a quarter cup as well, which I'm going to then soak in hot water to form a tamarind syrup, tamarind stock, tamarind like tasting water. You get the point. Just make sure it's well incorporated and let that steep for about 10 to 15 minutes. Next, the aromatics. So I've got about 4 to 5 shallots here which I'm just slicing thinly, and this will form the base sweetness for our sambal. Next, slice up about 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. Now once that's done, strain your tamarind and make sure to squeeze to have all the last remaining juices squeezed out. Just like that. Strain the dried chilies. Oh, by the way, I did deseed them. You can keep the seeds in if you like, but I just don't like it. Same thing with the dried anchovies, and I'm going to put them all into a blender, including the shallots as well as the garlic. Start blending it first, and all you want right now is just a basic coarse texture. We're going to be adding the tamarind water just in a bit. Now add just maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons maximum of tamarind water, and the idea here is just to loosen the paste so that it blends a bit more smooth. Once it's all blended just like that, we're going to then start cooking the sambal. Alright, so into a non-stick pan I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of oil. Now, and then I'm going to add the sambal, and just on medium to low heat I'm going to start cooking the moisture out. This intensifies the flavor but also starts creating sweet, nutty, robust tones in the sambal. As you cook for about 10 to 15 minutes over low heat, you start to see it becoming dry. And that's a good sign to then stop the cooking process and start seasoning it. So I'm seasoning it with a bit of tamarind water, salt, and a bit of brown sugar. I'm using that, gula, I can't remember the name, but that really sticky brown sugar. You get my point, yeah? Dilute it with the water and season and adjust, with the tamarind and the salt until you get the right consistency. Alright? I use about a quarter cup of tamarind water here because I really like tamarind water, and just about quarter cup of water to get the consistency right. Now moving on to the actual Nasi Lemak itself, it's really crucial to really develop the base flavors or aromats. So I'm using ginger and galangal here. Now galangal, also known as blue ginger, is a very different aromat compared to ginger. It's not as spicy, but it certainly is fragrant. I'm also adding 2 cloves of garlic. You can just slice them coarsely or you can just leave them crushed. Now, you also need 2 pandan leaves for one batch of Nasi Lemak as well. And don't judge my folding skills here, they are absolutely horrible, but the point is you just want to fold them up into a ball and just make sure they fit into the pot. Next, lemongrass. So just tip and tail and just remove some of the woodier stems, and just at the back of the knife just whack in a few times. I'm adding 1 cup of long grain rice, Long grain rice will cook out to be a bit more separate and a bit more nicer texture, right? Now the secret to the rice is make sure you rinse and repeat, okay? Now you want to do this about 3 to 4 times or until the water really runs clear. Now, when it comes to milk, I don't like using milk as a substitute for coconut milk, alright? I like using coconut milk, but I like to use the packaged one because I can actually measure out and quantify how much fat actually goes in. So to this recipe, I'm going to add half a cup of coconut milk and half a cup of water, top that up with half cup of water, as well as another half cup of water. Into a pot, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of fenugreek seeds, and I'm going to just dry toast this. Now, I've learned this from a Nasi Lemak joint in Johor, and this is how they do it, and I happen to like that style of rice a lot. You can reduce or increase the spices if you like, but I think 1 teaspoon is good enough. So just gently toast it, and this is just to start that nutty flavor development. Next, I don't have scenes for this, but I added the water and coconut milk mixture with a bit of salt as well as the pandan leaves, and just cover for 10 minutes over medium heat. After so, I'm removing all the aromats, and then this is really the secret to any pilaf stuffed rice, right, is to cover with a cloth and fold it up to absorb any excess moisture as it cools down with no more heat. After 10 minutes of that, use a fork and literally fork it up, and you will have then very nice, fluffy, flavorful Nasi Lemak. Now, to side dishes, I'm using tofu, and what I'm going to do with the tofu is, now this is firm tofu by the way, I'm just going to slice them in half and cube them into 4 nice cubes. Tofu can be high in moisture, and even though this is already firm tofu, I'm going to remove some of the moisture by covering with a bit of kitchen towel and just adding some weight on top. Leave that for about 10 to 15 minutes, and you will notice that the kitchen towel is now drenched. Remove that out and marinate it in the sambal that we just made earlier. Make sure you cover all sides. Now, tofu can be a tricky ingredient to play with because it has not much power on its own, but it does accept a lot of external flavors very well, hence why we're using the sambal to reinforce that traditional. Now, into a non-stick pan, add 1 teaspoon of vegetable oil and just use a kitchen towel to spread the oil. Put that on medium-high heat, and we're going to start searing the tofus. Place them all on one side down and leave it there for at least 3-4 minutes to get a really nice crust. After which, just jiggle them, make sure they don't stick, and using a spoon just flip them over and repeat the process for another 3 to 4 minutes. Now to brighten up the tofu, we're going to add just a bit of lime juice. I'm using Kalimansi limes here, but you can certainly use lemon or just regular old limes, no problem. Now assembling the dish isn't difficult. Now because the rice contains a bit of fat, I am reducing the portion to 2/3 of a Chinese rice bowl. Alright, so press it down firmly into your bowl of choice, and then place it into your plate to get that traditional dome Nasi Lemak shape. And don't forget about the banana leaf as well, that's really important. Next, I'm going to add vegetables. Now, you can make Nasi Lemak really healthy by making sure you get this component right. So 1 cup of vegetables, cooked vegetables, go in. You can use cucumber, but in my case, I'm using kangkong. Next, the pieces of eggs. Now, you can check out how to make these eggs in a separate video over here. I think one of the buttons will come up sooner or later. I'm also adding the tofu now. So 1 tofu, 1 egg, and anchovies. Now, these anchovies are dry roasted, as well as these nuts that I'm going to add right now. All dry roasted, which means less oil, which obviously means healthier. Last but not least, finish it off with that nice sambal you've made earlier, and there you go. Nasi Lemak fit for a king that happens to not put any weight onto your tummy or your belly.